Hello and welcome to We Never Met, the podcast where I have interesting strangers on every single week. Today we have Emma Daisy. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me today.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So I guess to just start off, so people have sort of a background. I mean, I feel like a lot of people know you and know your work and stuff, but just to explain to people so we have like a jumping off point of like where we can go, like what you do professionally.
Yeah, so I'm a professional artist and muralist, and I like to make the distinction between the two because I like to do both of those things, and I don't know that I would want to ever limit myself to one or the other. But I've done murals around Milwaukee and across the country, and then I also have a studio practice here as well.
Yeah, and what's interesting is like, so I'm based on like looking you up a bit, you got into the mural game, I guess, sort of more recently, right? Within the past like couple years.
Yeah, yep,
Okay.
2018. Yep.
Why did you decide to do like the first one that you did?
Well, when I left my day job, it was semi-comfortable. I'll say
Sure.
that because it was nonprofit art. So there's always the illusion of sort of sustainability there. But it was a regular job and I didn't know where I was going. And so when I left that job to pursue art full time, I got connected just through a friend with Black Cat Alley. It was before Black Cat Alley kind of had launched and they were doing fundraising and just starting out. And I got really excited by seeing the other artists that were coming in, helping out a little bit with the fundraising, just, with the event that they did. And I saw these other artists painting huge, large scale. And I was like, I really want to do that. That looks awesome. And I had kind of set out in my mind, like, this is something that I want to do and pursue. So when the opportunity came, I went for it.
Yeah. So you were working, I talk about this a lot when artists come on. You were working at a full-time job and then you took art on full-time, which is an interesting transition because like when I grew up, I'm 30. I didn't even know that you could do art as a job. It was never like told to me. It was never emphasized in school. It was basically like, if you want to do art, you have to be an art teacher and that's all you could do,
Yeah.
Was that a similar experience for you or no?
I would say no. I did not have that experience. I think I knew that you could be an artist full time, but I had no idea how to do that. And I always had parents that were really supportive of, me following my dream and me doing whatever I wanted to do. So I guess, it was more so like, what does that career really look like? Like, what's realistic? Not so much like, is it possible? It's just like, there are so many different avenues you can go in. And I never thought about or considered that. And I never, I guess, considered that I would be able to do that and have it be sustainable.
Because a lot of the work you do, from what I read, is about, and this is what was really interesting to me too, because a lot of it has to do with like identity for you and being an adoptee. So can you, just for like, because I don't have that experience. I'm interested to know like what the experience was like. I mean, I'm sure you're very little, so you don't like necessarily remember everything, but what that experience was like and like how that affected you long term and like your relationships with your surroundings and your environment and stuff.
Yeah, that's a really big question. And I mean, I think you're right. Like, a lot of, my experiences growing up, I don't even know if I still don't know if I realized how they're impacting me, but definitely, I grew up in Waukesha and when I was adopted, I was a baby and I was adopted with my birth brother. So we grew up together, which is a very unique experience as an adopted kid. You usually don't have ties to your birth family in that way. And so I feel fortunate for that because I still have my brother and we had a shared experience. And while we never talked about it and we still don't talk about it now, I think there was just something comforting about that, obviously I didn't know at the time, but I think that existed. But definitely, I struggled a lot. I mean, I grew up in Waukesha. It's a very white community, not super progressive, though my parents, I wouldn't say fit the typical Waukesha mold. My parents are both social workers. My mother was a psychotherapist. They were very socially conscious people, which I think is also part of why I didn't want to work in the fashion industry.
Mm,
Ultimately, it was just, I was raised with a different kind of set of morals and values that just didn't align. But, in a lot of ways, I think like every kid wants to just fit in.
hmm
I struggled with that, but more so, I just wanted to assimilate. And, I think that's true of a lot of like Asian adopted kids,
mm,
Korean adopted kids specifically, just wanting to fit in and kind of rejecting your Asianness growing up. I definitely struggled with that. I definitely didn't feel like I was the cool kid at all,
mm,
or, like boys didn't think I was attractive, or,
mm,
it was like stuff like that, which as you get older and older, you realize is really dumb anyway. but, but I think, for me, it was also like, where did I come from? What are my
mm,
roots? And, when I got to college, I started realizing like these differences are really something to celebrate. The things that make me different and unique are special. And I appreciate that more and more throughout my life. And I think for me, just identity is constantly shifting. So now I feel like it's more about kind of reshaping what is my identity as an Asian American adoptee.
mm,
So it's a little bit of like learning about my heritage and roots, but it's also like I don't have family members to pass that down. So I don't
mm.
have the direct, influence of Korean family members like sharing culture, sharing food, sharing
Right.
whatever that is. So it's like I'm learning it as an American
Mm,
who feels like, a connection to this because this is where I came from, but then I'm also having to reinterpret whatever that is for myself.
right.
If that
Even
makes
you
sense.
explaining it is very confusing. I'm,
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
not no, I understand, but I'm just saying I can understand how that could be confusing for someone because it's like there's so many levels, there's so many layers, there's so many. Yeah. It's interesting that like when you talk about this, I actually was just talking with, we're talking about identity and like mental health because it's something that I struggle with. His name's Zach, who I just had on like an hour ago. He runs like a mental health nonprofit. But we were talking about identity for so long because it is an interesting, like fluid shifting thing throughout your life. And so like when you brought up that your mom is a psychotherapist, or did you say psychiatrist? Or
Psychotherapist.
okay.
No, she's very adamant about
I know, well, yeah,
not a
specific.
psychiatrist.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a long rivalry between those
Yeah, yeah.
fields.
Was that difficult? I feel like growing up with a parent that I don't know. I'm just thinking about how my parents would be if they if they were there and like trying to like diagnose me.
Yeah.
I have OCD and anxiety already, and so they'd be like, "Well, you're doing this because of this." I'm like, "Stop it! Stop doing that." Did your parents do that or no? Kind of
No,
bring it home.
I never felt like I was being therapized or
Yeah,
diagnosed at all. I feel like I just have had really open-minded parents. And
sure.
I think what my mom being a psychotherapist, the way it benefited us was just learning how to communicate
Mm,
better and share our feelings and be able to be open and talk about really honestly and authentically. I think that's something I learned from them and from my mom. And yeah, I never felt like that. But I also don't know that she's that type of
mm.
therapist or personality anyway. I mean, she definitely still like gets on my nerves, like
Well,
I'm
yeah, like
trying.
every
I mean, but
parent. Yeah,
that's just a
yeah,
parent
yeah,
thing, giving you advice about things you're not asking for. But
yeah.
but other than that,
Yeah. No, that is interesting because yeah, I had a very different experience with my parents growing up, which is like, don't talk about any of it, don't tell anyone about any of it, and keep that to yourself. And so
yeah.
it was a very interesting thing and similar, I guess, in a way to you, where when I went to college, that's when I was like, I started opening up more and like exploring stuff more and talking about stuff. And with all of like your talking about identity and bringing that into your art as well, when you did, I guess, start exploring it more and talking about it more and like sort of figuring out where your place was, because it must have been hard with what all you talked about. And like you say, you grow up and it's not that big of a deal, but it was a big deal at some point, that.
Yeah.
And so it all matters. But like, how did you go about exploring like who you were or like what you wanted to do? You know what I mean? Like what you wanted to do and sort of reshape and I guess, dive into your identity more, like, what did you do?
I think, well, okay, I'll say this. So I worked in nonprofit arts for like 13
Hmm.
years. And as a young person, that's a pretty extensive amount of time.
Yeah.
And that's because I started when I was in college. I
Mm,
started at this organization called Express Yourself Milwaukee, which sadly no longer exists, but it was an
mm,
affiliate of an organization based in Boston that was really about celebrating the power of the creative arts to
mm,
change lives. And they worked with the Department of Mental Health. And I only say that and give this background because the founder of the organization here was an art therapist and was connected to Mount Mary University
mm,
and was connected to the art therapy program. And so I had a scholarship that required like a crazy amount of volunteer hours per week.
hmm. Sure.
And so that's how I originally got connected with this organization to do volunteer work. And I just never left. And
Mm,
I attribute a lot of, I think, what I learned in terms of being able to kind of grow up and learn within this organization that was very safe and allowed for that type of kind of creativity and expression and safe space to share. I think being around, very open people like that really allowed me to kind of explore who I was and who I am. I don't know if that really answers your question, but
yeah.
I mean, I think again, like it wasn't like a thing. I still don't even, I wouldn't know how to explain it now.
Mm,
Identity is such a weird thing.
hmm.
I think it's like you can be very sure of yourself, but also it's really difficult to articulate what that actually is.
And it's not something you think about every day either, really. It's just sort of like
Right.
what you are, what you do, and how you live your life. It's not like you
Yeah.
consciously are
Yeah.
like, this is what I am, you know?
Yeah. And I think more than anything, what I learned was I learned how to be really comfortable with myself
Mm,
and be very comfortable and able to just be me and be honest with people.
hmm.
And I think that was a really great lesson to have learned, but also gift to have been given at a young age.
Yeah. People like try their whole lives to try to figure that stuff out, like, and
Yeah.
yeah, it is seemingly becoming harder and harder to just be yourself these days,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever that means to,
Especially without either ridicule or criticism or, and
yeah.
obviously I'm still figuring it out too. I mean, we all forever
Mhm.
will be, but yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I was actually talking about this with someone recently about how there's like a massive, like, I guess even fun shaming culture where it's like everyone now is filming other people and not in a way of like, look at what this person's doing is so cool, like to laugh at them or like to make fun of them. Even like if they're going to a concert and like dancing, like someone assuming it is a silly way. It's like you can't even have that anymore. It's
Yeah,
like
you
it's all
can't
taken
even just
away.
have fun. Yeah, I think that's really true. But I think on the other side, I think as a whole, people are also being more positive and supportive of one another. And maybe they're just going to both extremes.
I think I see it happen a lot more often
Yeah,
than it used to, just because there's more access to it. It's like
sure.
when I was growing up, if someone was like bullying me, it's like I would have to know them or see them. Like
Right,
they couldn't virtually do it and not tell me.
right.
Like I would have to know that it was going on. So I think yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah. I suppose that's true. I don't know. Maybe I've just curated my social media enough now that it's only positive
well, maybe
things.
that's good. Maybe that's what everyone needs to do.
Yeah.
Uh yeah, just not allow it. But yeah, because I mean, your work and your art is really incredible. So I'm assuming that most people interact with you in a positive way. At least that would be my hope. Is that the case?
Yeah, I think for the most part, but also, I think not a lot of people can hate on bright colors and flowers. But I
I
mean, that
guess,
still
yeah.
happens. I mean, okay, so for example, like recently I was working with Fiddleheads on a project for
Hmm.
their 20th anniversary. They're doing art in all of their different locations with a bunch of different artists. And we were working on a mural at their Cedarburg location.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you're familiar at all with Cedarburg, but it's very conservative, old white
Hmm.
male kind of vibes and historic. And we had to go through like 3 different committees, but we didn't know that from the start. We thought it just had to pass through the Landmarks Committee, which is the historical preservation.
Mhm.
And it passed through them, it passed through the Arts Committee, and then it got knocked down by the Common Council.
Mhm.
And I didn't hear any of the comments. Fiddleheads really shielded me from the comments, I think, but
Yeah.
I think they were not interested at all in the content. And
Did you ever
in
figure
some
out
ways I
why?
kind of wish, well, I think they're very stayed in their ways. I think a lot of
Mm.
people in Cedarburg would like to see Cedarburg preserved in time as like a museum in history.
Mm.
So part of it is that, where it's like, okay, we have all these historical buildings, we don't want to put anything on them.
Mm.
And again, mind you, this mural was not going to be painted directly on the building. It was going to be on panels that were installed into
Oh.
mortar. It wasn't going to affect or impact the building in any major way.
Mhm.
But, there are people who thought it would be an eyesore in that particular location, that it would just, it would change the landscape of the Cedarburg that they sought to build and create.
Wow. One mural,
So,
huh? Brings it all
yeah,
down.
one mural. And I'll say, and I don't know this for certain, but I think it was because it showcased 3 women
Mhm.
who had, they were rendered in white and black. So
Mhm.
not to say that they had white skin, but my style is often black and white and then with
Mhm.
pops of color.
Right.
But they were very clearly sort of culturally ambiguous looking women. They
Mhm.
weren't necessarily Caucasian looking women. So
Sure.
I honestly think that was probably maybe part of it.
Mm.
Again, I don't know that for certain, but
Do you run into that often, or is that like a more
that doesn't
isolated?
happen.
Oh,
Yeah, that
okay.
doesn't happen very often. But also, it really depends on what the mural is for or who is asking for it. So it's
Right.
like, private businesses, yeah, you're going to run into more, pushback from the
Yeah.
community potentially. But if it's like a downtown business improvement district, everyone's already on board.
Yeah. It's a weird stance against public art, I guess, but
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know. I have been to Cedarburg. I think they have like a strawberry festival or something. Is that
Yeah, I
the thing?
probably.
That's the only time I've been there. So I
I
don't
don't
really know
know.
the vibe.
I'm not super familiar either with Cedar.
Yeah, you grew up in Waukesha. So when you went to school, did you stay around Waukesha or did you go somewhere else?
I went to Mount Mary University,
Okay.
and I went there. It's funny, I always give my parents flack for this because I was gonna go to Madison,
Okay.
and, as an in-state, like, it takes a bit of effort to be accepted to Madison
Yeah, it's hard. It's a
directly.
good school. Yeah.
Right, so so I was, like, super proud of myself. I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah, you should
I
be.
got in, I'm gonna go there."
Yeah.
Wasn't super far, but it was a bigger campus. Like, there was
Hmm.
more diversity in people, which is what I was interested in.
Right.
And the second that my dad saw that the fashion school was part of the School of Home Economics, he was like not he was not happy about that choice.
Why?
I think in his mind, like, he's old school,
Mm.
home economics is like not, it doesn't sound like success.
It sounds like a class you take for 40 minutes in middle school, I guess. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, which it's not that. I mean, I'm not knocking that
Yeah, yeah,
department or
I
that
don't think
school at
that
all,
either.
right?
I'm just saying. I'm just trying to get in his mind. Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. So then I didn't know Mount Mary existed. Like, I had no idea, even it being so
And
close.
where is it? Is it in? Well, I don't
It's
even know
in
where it is.
Milwaukee, but
Okay.
it's like, it's pretty much in Wauwatosa.
Okay.
Like, the border kind of goes around the school.
Hmm.
Like, it's out by Mayfair Mall, kind of.
Okay. I got you. Yep.
But they have a really fantastic fashion program.
Mm.
So that's why I ended up there. And I actually started taking classes there when I was a senior in high school. So I also had like a semester of credits already going in.
Sure.
They were excited about that. They were offering me like, scholarship money and whatever. So, but I always have to give them a little bit of flack for it because my brother transferred to Madison
Hmm.
from Iowa, and they were like, when he graduated, it was like a really big deal that
Oh,
he was
from
like,
Madison?
from Madison. He
Yeah.
was at Madison. They were super excited. They were like, yeah,
Your parents were?
yeah.
Oh, come on.
They made me go to the graduation.
Oh
I
yeah.
was like,
It's like
hey,
rubbing in my face.
I was gonna go here. You were not excited at all about that.
Yeah, it's a curse of having
Anyway,
siblings, you know.
right. I think I got off track.
No, this is all interesting, but yeah, it is funny because when you said home economics, for some reason my mind fixated on the economics part, and I got really confused. And I'm like, why is it in economics? Like I don't, but it's home
No,
economics.
it's
Yeah,
home ec. Yeah, like home ec, you learn
yeah,
how
yeah,
to cook.
yeah,
Learn how to cook and sew and like
yeah,
iron. It was it was
yeah,
like
yeah,
how to be a homemaker.
yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
that's what he had in his mind that like,
Mm,
oh, you're going to school to learn how to be a homemaker. That's like
yeah, they
that's
need to
not what
update
we're
the
sending you
wording.
to college. Yeah.
Yeah, because I took that class in middle school. I think I made a pillow. I learned some good
Yep.
skills. I learned how to sew. Yeah, so yeah, I am familiar. But yeah, it's a weird. I don't know. When I think of Madison, I think of like, it's a really good school, obviously. So I think of like prestige and stuff. And for some reason, I'm like, I feel like they'd need a better word to explain that.
Yeah.
You know. I don't know.
I think had I gone there, I would not have, been in the program the first year.
Mm,
You can't get into it right away. But I think so. I think I would have figured out that that wasn't what I wanted to do much earlier on,
sure.
and perhaps ended up in their art school, or who knows?
Yeah.
Can't really
Yeah.
speculate, but
Yeah. Because I fell into a similar trap where I applied at like 10 different schools or whatever. And Iowa was actually one of the ones that I got into. But I ended up going to a private school similar to you. And they like lured me in with like, oh, look at all this scholarship money that you're
yeah,
getting. And even though it's like, oh man, I graduated with so much debt. I feel like I got swindled or something, like
yeah,
afterwards. Like, how does this amount of money add up to this? Like,
right,
it,
right.
but yeah.
Here are all these great scholarships which make you feel really good, but then
Hmm.
really they just subsidize it a little bit because
Yeah.
it's already a more expensive school.
Right. Because even at half price, it's more expensive than a public school.
Right,
And
right.
yeah. So yeah, I fell into the same sort of thing. And I was like really unrightfully so, but like mad at my parents
Yeah,
afterwards. I'm like, I have so much debt. Why did you let me do this?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, okay, so I'll say my parents kind of set up a deal with my brother and I, and it was kind of also an ultimatum where it's like, as long as
Yeah.
you graduate
Mm,
with a degree, we will pay your student debt,
dang, that's a good
which
deal.
is a huge gift,
Yeah.
and so I do feel like I had the benefit of leaving school and not having a huge amount of debt,
Mm,
which I am grateful for. And at the same time, well, that's that's also part of why I ended up with a degree in community arts and cultural development,
mm.
which is a made up degree.
Who made
It's
it up?
I made it up.
Oh, okay.
It's a yeah, Mount Mary. I mean, it's both great, and also Mount Mary has this program where you can design your own degree
That's cool.
and your own program, which is cool. And it's cool for students who feel like they want something that's a little bit more tailored. And you have to work with several different departments
Hmm.
and advisors and really like create that curriculum. And honestly, for me, I just wanted to get the can I swear on here?
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry.
you can swear.
I just wanted to get the fuck out of school. Like I just wanted to be done at
Yeah.
that point. So I created a degree where I didn't lose 3 years of fashion credits to
Mm,
nothing and was able to incorporate other things that I was interested in and ultimately, have a degree and be finished and move
yeah.
on.
Because how long in school did it take you to like sort of figure out that maybe fashion wasn't for you?
3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 3 years, I would say, which is a lot of time at that age to be dedicating to something that I mean, I learned a ton of great skills. I'll say that. And I think
Mm,
that's the creative part of my education because I never had a traditional art school background.
hmm.
I never had studio time. I never learned that kind of artistic discipline
Mm,
that I think is kind of thrust upon you in art school because of the quantity of work that you have to be producing.
hmm.
So I think the fashion classes in that program did help me in that way.
Hmm.
But then I got to kind of combine it with sociology, anthropology, art therapy, all these other things. But
Yeah. Because were you always like drawing? Were you an artistic kid, or were you
yeah,
into other things? Yeah, you were.
yeah, yeah. I was always making things with my hands. My mom always talks about like when I was really little, I'd make these really intricate, like scenic displays in three
Mm.
dimensions out of paper.
That's cool.
Um, yeah, I was constantly making things and drawing, and I was always like the kid that, in school that like other kids would ask in art school, "Can you help me draw mine?"
Yeah. Yeah. Did your parents keep all that stuff from
Oh
like
yeah.
art projects and stuff?
Yeah.
Have you looked back on it at all?
It's in a bin somewhere in storage. They
Yeah.
gave it to me, but I just, I haven't like unearthed everything, but I definitely have it.
Yeah, because I've looked back on my old art projects. I'm like, whoa, why did you keep this?
Yeah, no, I feel the same way though. It's funny.
Yeah.
Like I also like I see the stuff that my kid is making now at their
Mm.
age, and I'm like blown away by it.
Mm.
And so then I think like I wasn't making stuff like that. Like I was not at that level at that age. And
Yeah.
then it's like, wait, is this just because I'm a parent now and I think everything that my kid does is great? But
It
I don't
could
think
be,
that's true
but I don't
either because
know.
they do weird stuff too. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever. We're
Yeah. I feel like objectively it's probably good. Yeah. I
yeah,
think there's just some people that it takes longer for them to get to the point, you know?
yeah,
Yeah, because
for sure.
I look back on the stuff that my parents kept, and even from my siblings, like I have a brother and two sisters, and like some of our like pottery or whatever, it's just like this is so awful. Like why did you keep this? My brother made this character that I think he still has, called Tiger Slow, and it's like a tiger with jeans on. And this is like clay with jeans on and with cement blocks of
Oh
shoes.
my God. But it's
Uh,
all made out of clay.
yeah,
Like
it's
the
all
jeans are.
yeah, yeah. He's wearing blue jeans and like cement blocks of shoes. And
That's
I'm like,
so funny.
that's cool to keep, but like
But it's creative. Yeah, that's
yeah.
cool. Like I remember I made this I don't even remember. I think it was like a face that like the bottom part, was kind of like a little pocket. And this is
Mm-hmm.
all of ceramics too. And this hung in like our hallway upstairs growing up, like forever until my parents like sold their house and moved into the city a couple years ago. And it's like the ugliest. It looks, I don't know if I was trying to make a werewolf, but it's like ceramic and then it's painted brown.
Mm.
Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not, it was like not creative at all. Not interesting in any way.
yeah. Well, it was creative because you created it. So it
Well,
was
yeah, I
creative.
suppose.
But yeah, it is interesting to like look back on that stuff, and because I haven't really had this experience with myself, but I know other people have had it where, as a kid, and maybe you see this with your own child too, it's like they don't care about criticism or whatever. They're just going to make whatever they think is cool and they like or pursue that. And it is what it is, and they're going to like or not
Yeah.
like the end product depending on it. And then as you get older, you have all these like societal stuff and like trying to fit in and
Yeah.
caring what people think more. And you get like maybe creatively boxed in a little more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like sometimes like I look back on the stuff that I was making as a kid and it like in a weird way inspires me to like do other things now. Cause I'm like, this is bizarre, but like I did it and for some reason I enjoy doing it. So maybe I need to go more in that direction. You know?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, everyone needs that, a little bit of that sometimes. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Franklin. So
Okay.
it's like probably pretty similar to
Yeah.
your experience, or not your experience, but where you grew up. Very white, conservative. It's like I'm sure you know where it is, but it's like 15
Yeah.
minutes from Milwaukee. So
Yeah. I remember, I think it was maybe in the New York Times or the
mm,
New Yorker. I don't remember. There was an article about a Korean adoptee who was talking about her experience. And I was like, when I was reading through it, I was like, that's like my experience, except for like all of the Christian stuff, because my parents
mm,
did not,
sure.
Force or indoctrinate me in any way religiously. But I think like, I was like, wow, she, came here the same year, she was born the same year,
Mm-hmm.
and she grew up in Franklin.
Oh,
So that was, I don't know, it was interesting. So
because
I feel like
yeah,
Franklin is probably very similar.
yeah. What did she write that you related to? Just out of curiosity.
Just the feeling of not fitting in
Mm-hmm.
and feeling like just that rejecting, her Asianness in growing up. But also at the same time, it's like when you're growing up in that kind of community and your parents are white
Mm-hmm.
and you're culturally white and Midwestern,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you don't see yourself that way.
Right.
Like, I didn't see myself as an Asian person,
Mm.
and there were moments where I'd have to, like, remind myself, "Oh, like, I'm different than everyone else around here physically."
Mm.
And then there were moments where it was very obvious because,
Right.
I'd get picked on or, kids would be like, "Why is your face so flat?"
Mm.
That was like and I don't even know if she said that specifically, but it was like that kind of feeling that was very similar to my
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't put it past it. I think since graduating from high school, I mean, it's like 12 years ago now, which is wild, but there's been a lot of like really bad racist stuff that has made national news from the high school that I went to. Like,
Oh,
there was for sure a couple incidents that I can at least recall within like since graduating. Like, there was one that they put up signs like colored and whites on bathrooms in the high school.
no.
This is recent ish, you know?
That's crazy.
So yeah, I mean it's one of those things where yeah, there was photographs and like it made headlines and like got reported about, but it happens everywhere,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
It's not like an isolated thing,
yeah.
unfortunately. So
Most
yeah,
of yeah.
but it is interesting to hear you talk about it because like it's obviously like being a white straight male growing up in that environment. It is interesting to think like the idea of like, being Korean and like living
Mhm.
in a Midwestern place and like having to like forget about that sometimes, until
Yeah,
someone,
reminds you of it.
you're right, in like in like
Yeah,
the worst way, not in like in
yeah,
like a cool way or like, oh, I'm curious about your
right.
heritage in like the meanest way possible,
Yeah.
basically.
And that's definitely shifted. I used to do so just going back to that, I used like when kids used to do like Chinese eyes, which is
Hmm.
also a terrible thing, but they would pull their corners of their eyes up
Yep.
to make them look Asian. So I would do that
Hmm.
to be like the rest of the kids doing
Right.
that.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And my mom always was like, she felt like she didn't know how to tell me that
Mm.
my eyes were already like that. And I never communicate because this is like one of those things you just internalize as a kid because you don't want to
Yeah.
talk about it. You don't know how to put into words how that's making you feel necessarily.
Right.
But I already knew that my eyes looked like that. I was just trying to
Mm.
do what everybody else was doing,
Right. You're trying to
And
fit
now
in. Yeah.
yeah, you're trying to fit in. You're trying to it's like funnier. That was a way to like deflect through comedy and like make it like, oh, this is funny because I'm already like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
isn't funny, but
But it's the
but I
best you
can laugh
got.
about it now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's the best you got when you're a kid, I feel like.
I
Yeah,
feel like
because
that wasn't what I was gonna say, but I
no,
don't remember where we were going.
I don't either. It's fine. That's kind of the point, just sort of wander around in conversation. But I mean, yeah, because kids are just like really mean and brutal. I think when you're growing up, even when you're like are sort of like me, where you fit in, it's like they always
Yeah.
find
Yeah.
something.
There's
It's
still
like,
bullies in every space and place.
yeah, I don't have any kids yet, but it's just like I feel for your mom in that situation because I'm like, I don't know how I would handle that either. Like, I don't know what I would do. I would feel so sad, but I wouldn't know how to approach that. Like
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
just, I feel like it's so tough being a parent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think too, I don't think anyone was as aware of the impact or how transracial adoption was
Mm,
different too. So like I don't even know if I mean obviously my parents were aware of it. I think
mm,
the joke that my mom always makes is, telling people this is, introducing these are my children, this is my daughter, don't we look so much alike? Can't you,
mm,
she likes to make that joke because it's
sure.
very obvious that
Yeah.
that we look nothing alike.
Right.
But I think that awareness has shifted too in this
Hmm.
day versus when I was growing up, just as, societally as a whole. And I think that's another interesting shift. I think that's what I was going to say
Mm,
before is like at a certain point, I became very aware of my Asianness and then celebrated that. And now
mm,
it's like I'm really proud to be a Korean
hmm.
and I'm really proud that I'm different. Like I like that I'm do have a unique quality. And I think it's really fascinating because my child, they're so interested in Korean culture.
Mm,
And, you know, they're half Korean, but they're like learning Korean on their own. They're like fully immersed, like they love Korean food. And it's just really interesting to me because they, like, from the get go, have embraced that part of themselves.
right. I mean, I think the good thing about, I guess, where I'm at now is like I don't really care anymore. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
if people like doing this want to listen, that's great. If people don't care, well, then yeah, that's great too. There's other things to do,
Yeah.
you
You got
know?
to do it for yourself, though, first, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You
You got to
know?
enjoy it. Like,
Yeah. 100%. I
yeah.
think that's true of all art or
Hmm.
all things that you create. I mean, I think that's how I approach any art that I'm making is, you know, as long as I'm enjoying the process,
Hmm. Yeah.
it's worth it.
Because I grew, when I graduated college, I did like a bunch of stuff and then I stopped. You know, it's like I would do this project for like, 4 weeks and then stop, or I would make this video series and then it would stop. And I'm like, why is none of this sticking? Like, why am I not doing this for longer than like 3 months and getting
Yeah.
bored? And it was like because I didn't care. Like I wasn't doing it because I was necessarily interested. I'm like, oh, this would probably be good. Like this would be good to do this. Not
Right.
I like to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a big distinction there too. And I find like when I talk to like young artists, and again, I'm not like that old, you know, or I'm not like that established as an
Back in
artist
my day. Yeah.
myself. I mean, like my career is very new, is what I mean.
I
Like I
know what
don't
you
have
mean. Yeah.
that much experience, but you know, like, but because I've had some success pretty rapidly, people do ask me questions and they ask for advice and all of
Mhm.
that. And like, you know, I run into that a lot where young artists are like, you know, I feel like I should be doing this, or I feel
Mhm.
like I should be doing that. And it's like some external thing that's telling them to, you know, because this is the right thing. And I also think that's also a product of like the art education system, you know,
Mm.
and part of like traditional art school that, you know, and again, like I have my own opinions about art academia in that world. And obviously I didn't go just to art school in that way. And I'm glad that I didn't because I think it sometimes does put you into this box where,
Mhm.
you know, you feel like you're supposed to do things because that's the
Yeah.
way you're supposed to do them.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not what I've done, and it's
Yeah.
working, you know, because people see when you're doing something that's real. People can
Yeah.
tell.
With all your art and like the murals, I feel like I've seen more and more murals. Like you're like just churning them out. Like there's a ton of murals that you've done in the past year or so, it seems like. Is that the case?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. 2020 actually was like a banner year, you know, which is interesting to say because it was such a shitty year for most people. And
Mm.
just, you know, I know a lot of people were struggling and suffering, but for some reason, for art, it was like all of a sudden people realized they wanted to paint their walls.
Right.
You know, that was like the time where it's like you're spending time at home, you think of things or you have the time to do things that you didn't have time for before, you know, a lot of redevelopment of larger kind of projects and real estate spaces, you know, companies that were like redoing, and that I guess provided a lot of opportunities for murals. Yeah. And then just through the last year, so Bayshore was like a really big one, which I had the opportunity to both curate and then also be an artist painting. You know,
Mm.
it was a little of both. So I worked with an agency called Artist Uprising, and they're based in Dallas. They managed the art project, and then I worked with them as like the local curator because the developer, who's also based in Dallas, wanted to use all local artists for this project, which I thought
Mm.
was really super cool. I commend them for that. And I also commend them for thinking, you know, thinking outside of the box and really putting some real dollars toward art. You know, again, there can always be more, but you know, it was cool, a cool opportunity for a whole bunch of artists in the community.
Yeah. Did you guys paint like the entire mall? I saw so many artists do murals on there. I feel like they're,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's, oh gosh, I don't even know how many anymore, but there, we're probably 10 different artists, I want to say,
Mm-hmm.
and multiple different locations. So like I painted maybe 5 different spots.
Mm.
So, there are a few artists who did a number of different spots there. And yeah, and some of them are not even open yet. So they did the rotunda is the
Mm.
interior space, which is still not open to the public. So
Oh,
it's like there's still some unveiling to happen.
that's cool.
And a sculpture. A sculpture is going in the fall.
Did you
Fingers crossed.
from you?
Not from me. So it was an
Okay.
artist that I curated for that space who's local to Milwaukee.
Yeah, that's super cool. I mean, you get to see like from the murals that you have done that are public, you get to see like people with their coffee in front of it, like taking pictures, like by, is
Yeah.
that a cool experience to see?
Yeah. Yeah. It's always super fun. I don't know if it'll ever get old.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of like the really awesome things about public art is
Hmm.
that it does get to live in the world and it's like it's no longer yours. It's sort of like you
Hmm.
release it to the community and then so to see people enjoying it, I mean, like that's the best gift that you can be given.
Yeah.
When
I
it gets
just,
defaced, that's different, but
yeah. I
or
talked to someone.
graffitied on.
Yeah. I talked to someone who used to be a graffiti artist who does murals and stuff now. And he basically like watches all of his murals. And whenever someone graffitis,
Yeah.
he has to like the next day he just
You
goes
go
in.
immediately.
Yeah, because otherwise it just gets out of hand.
Yeah, that's probably the best defense against graffiti is just erase it immediately, and then usually people don't bother coming back.
Yeah, that's one of the, I act like there's other reasons. I was going to say, that's one of the reasons I don't do murals. Like, as if people are asking me to do them. That's the reason I don't do them. Because, no, but I was going to say that would just make me really sad if I did one and I put all
Yeah.
this effort in one and then someone just like tagged it,
Yeah. I got into a graffiti war once with
Oh,
someone locally in Black Cat Alley, and they eventually put an anti-graffiti coating over the lower section of my mural
what is that?
because it's a product that basically there's 2 different products. One acts as a sacrificial layer
Mm-hmm.
that then allows you to remove whatever's on the surface and it protects the art below
Okay.
it.
Gotcha.
And then there's another type, which this is the type that they used, I believe, that like paint doesn't adhere to it really.
Mm.
So if you spray on it, then you can just wash it off.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah. So, but it's also like it's really expensive to use, so most
Oh,
people
yeah.
don't use it.
So you did that to your pieces or some of yours?
The alley, so the East Side Bid did that after that incident happened.
What was the war? How many times did they come?
It was like this person, and I don't even know what their name was because it wasn't like a legible tag necessarily.
Oh, yeah.
But it was like a really dumb one that was, one color sprayed in like letters. It wasn't, I don't even think it was bubble letters. Like it wasn't that cool. So I took a picture of it and like
just heckling the graffiti artist.
Yeah, I was.
Not even
That's
that cool.
exactly what I did. I was like, let me tell you, this is not cool, and these are the reasons why. And I was like, you didn't even do like if you're gonna fucking graffiti over my shit, do something cool.
Yeah.
Like put some effort into it because this is garbage,
Yeah.
And then I put like hashtag Tiger Toy or something, and then the person came back like a day later,
Yeah.
and went over his tag with like a 2-color bubble letter like thing.
See, he's up in the quality.
It still wasn't cool. And then put hashtag Tiger Toy on it. So it was like, I see you. And then we just went and erased it like early in the morning. Like painted over it.
You never figured out who it was?
No, and I gave them no more attention. Because I mean that's what they do it.
Yeah.
For that attention. And so it was like, okay, I'm gonna call you out and then you're just gonna get erased. And that's how it's gonna be. But
drop the mic and walk away.
Yeah, and now there's graffiti coating on it, so we can, graffiti over someone else's.
Well, don't do that.
Or don't do that at all.
But yeah, because when I was talking to him, he said basically, because I was like, what are the rules? Because I always see people graffiti and then like graffiti over the graffiti. And yeah, you're supposed to, if you're going to go over something, it's supposed to be better than the other ones.
Better, yeah.
So he was breaking the rules. He was breaking the code rules.
Right.
Anyways.
Yeah. It's like anything you're doing over a mural is not going to be better.
Yeah, it's not. If you're just going to put like weird lettering on it,
Right. Yeah. And it was huge. I mean, it was like huge. It like covered like the bottom portion of the mural. It wasn't like some little, it's like massive.
Can you imagine like the mind fuck if you like if you came back and then they made this like massive mural that you were like, oh my, this is amazing. Like, can you imagine
Yeah,
if they did
no,
that?
right? I mean,
Yeah.
then I would have respect. Like that is like, yeah,
Who
okay, I can
did this?
respect that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the graffiti I want to see. I don't want to see anyone going over anyone's art, but like someone just make murals. Like that should be new
Yep,
graffiti. That's the new
yeah.
way we're going.
Well, wheat pasting is one way you can do. I mean, because it's hard to like incognito style
Mm.
put up a massive mural with no one noticing.
Yeah, that's true.
I've thought about it. I've definitely thought about it because if you get equipment and you're wearing like a yellow vest, most of the time, like no one will question what you're doing because you look
Interesting.
special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'll start doing murals,
Yeah.
I had this with like Banksy and stuff,
Uh-huh.
like how he's so famous and no one, or people have theories about who he is or whatever.
Mm.
I have like a small fantasy that like I could do that. Like I would like, that's how I would want my art to be. It's like a mystery.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
And just,
something really attractive about the
yeah.
mystery of
I don't know what is attractive about that. I don't know why I'm like interested in doing it that way.
I mean, because I also think you're doing something stealth and it's illegal still. So there's like
Yeah.
the thrill of like, going and putting something up where you don't have permission.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's
there's
also
something attractive about that.
It's also to me like if you could do something like that in this day and age where everyone has camera phones and like social media is not like it's hard to do anything stealthy. Everyone investigates, there's a subreddit for everything. And so I think there's just some sort of like I'm just kind of amazed. Like it's amazing to me that someone can do that still.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I feel like at some point someone will
get found out, right?
Yeah.
He has so many resources though at this point to protect himself from that. But you would think, I don't know. Because the thing is, you'd have to start from the very beginning, knowing that you always wanted to be.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do it from the very start, then it's inevitable that someone will have something.
Yeah.
To be like later on, be like, oh, that's that person. I saw him that one time.
But yeah, no, it is very interesting to me. Got super off track, but I'm just no, I think your work is really amazing. And I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting. And before we wrap up here, where can people go to like reach out to you and in your website and social media, stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm mostly just on Instagram at Emma Daisy. And my website is emmadaisy.com. I'm mostly just an Instagram girl. I don't deal with the other. I can barely keep up with just that. So.
And there's always new stuff. People keep talking about TikTok. I don't know if you're on TikTok.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I have a TikTok account, but it's like it was literally just to find out what the girls and my kids' sleepover were like doing in the other room.
Yeah,
like they were like posting videos, and I was like, all right, I gotta investigate this.
Yeah, I haven't gone on it yet, but everyone
I'm afraid of that.
Do it. Yeah,
I am afraid of the constant. It's so immediate. Like it just comes up, it starts playing immediately and you get sucked in.
Yeah.
And I know myself and my own habits and I would just get lost in there and I don't think I could.
You would never leave your house again.
Yeah,
just watching TikTok videos.
Yeah.
I don't know. At first I was like, well, this is just for young kids. And I feel sort of creepy and weird being on it. Like I would feel just weird being on TikTok. And now I'm just sort of like, well, I have enough social media. I feel like Instagram is like far more than enough for me. I don't even really like to. I have a Facebook, but I don't ever use it. Like I don't go on Twitter. Like I spend enough time. I feel like on my phone. I don't need another reason to keep doing it.
Yeah, 100%. I feel the same.
Yeah,
and I just don't care enough to learn.
Yeah, I know. I don't know
new
if
formats. It's like unless it becomes a real necessity where it's like this is the only thing.
It's like part of your livelihood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is also another scary thing. Like I don't ever want to get to that point where it's like I have to be on these social medias because it's making me money or something, and that's like the only
Right.
way I can do it.
Right.
Yeah, it's a tough world out there, you know. If I was a kid these days, I feel like I would be a lot more lost for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine is 11 going on 12.
Mm,
They identify as non-binary, but they do not have a phone yet.
mm,
And that's like a big decision. And a lot of their friends have phones.
mm. So the pressure
And
is building.
yeah, but it's like it's building, but actually they haven't asked too much. I mean, they have an iPad, but I'm pretty restrictive
Yeah.
about the settings, but like the phone stuff it's like a whole can of worms that I'm not interested in.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I didn't get a phone or a smartphone until I was a senior in college, I think. And they
Yeah.
existed. I just didn't really have an interest in it. But yeah, now it's like everyone seems to have a phone or a smartphone in like middle school, or it's just
Yeah,
like,
it's wild.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. And I mean, they just don't have the self-control and they don't
right. Their
know.
brains are still
Their
developing.
brains don't, I mean, yeah, they don't know any better. And it's like the self-control with like the knowledge. They don't have either of those
Mm,
things. So it's like if they can
right.
get on their phone at like 3 a.m. because they're awake, like that's not okay.
Yeah. There's all this serotonin rushing to their brain every time they get likes on pictures and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently on TikTok you can spend money or something. Like one of
Really?
my kids' friends, yeah, somehow spent like $2,000 on TikTok giving away like these coins or tokens,
What? Wow.
and it's like real money. You know, the tokens are
Yeah.
like paid with real money. So it's like they were
Yeah.
just giving away their mom's money to random strangers.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a
Like,
nightmare.
yeah,
Wow. Yeah. I don't know. I feel for you. I don't have kids once again,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
mean, being a parent these days must be a challenge for sure. I mean, it always has been, but there's just more stuff going
Yeah,
on.
there's more unknowns but that's always the case, right?
Yeah, there's always something new coming out,
There's
you
always
know?
something new.
Yeah. I just want to go back to like having a flip phone, really. That
Yeah.
if Instagram was like could be on your computer and like used on your computer, I would just definitely go back to a flip phone.
Well, it is.
Well, you can't post on your
Can't you use
computer.
it on your computer?
No. You can look at people's Instagram and
Oh,
stuff, but you can't like
right.
actually do anything.
You used to be able to though,
Oh,
right? In the beginning?
I don't know. I know
I
like
could be making that up.
you can do like the basic things like follow people and search people and
Yeah.
see stuff,
Okay.
but yeah, you can't actually post. At least from
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'm old and I don't know. I was literally chatting with my friends on Instagram and they were like doing like the laughy emojis and like the DMs to my messages or whatever. And I couldn't figure out how to do that. Like I'm like, I feel like I'm 100, like trying to
Yeah.
figure out.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're like trying to explain to me, like, no, you just have to hold it. I am holding
Right.
it. It's not
Right.
working.
And drag it.
Yeah, it's telling me to copy it. Like it's not doing what you're telling me to do. I'm like, I'm
Oh,
done.
that's funny.
But yeah, and well,
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, it's
Yeah. At
just
some
wild.
point, we're all going to have like a smartphone with our apps, like that we have at home. And then we
Yeah,
like carry around flip phones again.
yeah, yeah. It's coming back. You know, bell bottom jeans are coming back, so are flip
Oh,
phones.
yeah.
That's my theory.
Yeah.
But
They
no,
are for real. People are bringing them back.
the bell
I've seen a
bottoms or the
bunch of
flip phones.
people, both, but
Oh,
but flip phones. I've
yeah.
seen a bunch of people with like by choice with
Mm.
flip phones.
They're getting really interesting with flip phones because I saw the commercial that I don't know if it's on TV, but like BTS is doing the. Have you seen this? With like it's like a touchscreen flip phone.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. That's
like
who makes it. Is it
Gal.
Samsung?
It has to, yeah,
Samsung?
Samsung. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I think it's a Galaxy, but
yeah. I
mm,
saw that a while back. I didn't see the BTS thing, which I mean, I've
they're
seen a
everywhere.
lot of BTS stuff, but
Yeah, yeah, they are
they're
everywhere.
everywhere. My kid has been into BTS for a long time.
Yeah, my younger sister has been into like K-pop and just like Korean
Yeah,
culture for like it was so long ago, and I don't really listen to much K-pop, but like yeah, I'll listen to BTS for sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
definitely would consider myself army at this point.
Would you?
Which I don't know. I don't know if like it's just intentional or because I've like hung around my kid for so long that I've like just
Yeah.
learned all these things. But
Yeah. Yeah. I like the thing I learned about like K-pop and stuff is like the industry is pretty intensely unhealthy in some cases.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
I think that Korean work ethic in
mm,
general is probably exists across the board in Korean culture.
it just,
You know that the
yeah.
high expectations,
Yeah.
but even then, even more so in that culture, K-pop culture, and just like I mean, because it's really like a way for. I mean, it was initially developed as a way for the Korean government, like supported as a way to basically commodify and sell Korean culture to the rest of the world.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
that was part of, the surgence, the resurgence of that whole movement.
Wow. Talk about a government campaign working really well because it did
Yeah.
exactly that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, that was the intent and it was effective and it is effective. I think that's the interesting thing about BTS though, is that it's like they are breaking the mold in some ways
Mm,
with regard to what is required of K-pop idols, and then also
mm,
what K-pop idols are allowed to do because
mm.
they have been so successful and they have brought such positive attention to Korea and
Yeah.
Korean culture that they're given more leeway in what they can do and what they're allowed to say and how they're allowed to, represent and present themselves. And I think that's
Mm.
a positive in the long term.
Yeah, I know. I think I was gonna say I know, but I don't know for sure. But don't they own their own label? Like they own it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
because
they own stock in it because Big
right.
Hit just merged with some other major. I think it's the company that like owned Justin Bieber and some American company
Hmm.
who it's Justin Bieber and like whatever that big conglomerate company is.
Hmm.
I don't remember who else is a part of that, but I think Big Hit just acquired that company or they merged or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And then as a result of that, I think BTS members now all own stock in that company.
Yeah, that's cool though. That's
Again, like, don't fact check me.
don't look any
I
of
don't
this
know
up.
where I've heard this stuff.
This is all
Half my 11-year-old told me. No, I'm just kidding.
it sounds no, I know there is stock in it because I definitely remember reading something about how when they went
Yeah,
public, they all
yeah,
owned a percentage and they made a bunch of money, which was awesome. But
yeah. No, I feel like my husband told me this, which, you know,
yeah,
he doesn't care about BTS. So,
but he cares enough. Cares enough. I was gonna ask something about BTS, but I forgot. Oh, what was it? I was gonna say is like, I really wish my wish was that like people would see, BTS and like all these other K-pop groups who are like dancing, because
mhm.
I miss that part. I miss the
Yeah,
NSYNCs, I miss the Backstreet
yeah.
Boys, like the dancing and singing. I danced for 4 years or 5 years,
Oh,
and I really miss seeing some dancing with the
yeah.
songs.
What kind of dance did you do?
I did hip hop dance. So in
Yeah,
like yeah, in college, I was captain of our dance team. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I missed that part. I missed
yeah,
and it felt like it really faded away with boy bands. And
yeah. But I
I
think
was
it's coming back. I mean, I think it is
yeah,
coming back now because of K-pop and the popularity of BTS in the United States. Again, it's like whatever is popular in here is, what kind of
yeah,
spreads. But yeah, I mean, you learn to have such an appreciation for the amount of effort and
hmm
training and time and like the incredible talent that
yeah,
these performers have. It's crazy. I have to say, like, my favorite thing I think about watching them dance, they're incredible dancers
hmm
and they're incredible singers. And the fact that they can do both of those things at the same time just like is mind blowing. But then it's like the quality of the production. Like I love
yeah,
watching because it makes me feel pride. Like going back to my Korean heritage, it's like
hmm
obviously I don't have any memory of Korea and where I come
Sure.
from, other than just like that feeling deep in your roots. But
Hmm.
there's something that is unearthed when I watch groups like BTS, where I'm like, I feel proud, super
Yeah.
proud to be Korean, and that they're Korean, and that this is like coming from my people.
Yeah. Yeah, they're doing it in such like a cool, classy way. I feel
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
like
yeah.
you can't not like them. They're
They're
very
yeah.
endearing and
They're
likable.
super likable. They're just super wholesome too, which
Yeah.
again is like a K-pop thing, but I also feel like they're just like that as a group. Like they were just the right combination of
Hmm.
personalities.
Yeah. They seem
Yeah,
very
it's cool to see that.
authentic. Yeah.
They're slowly infiltrating Western culture
Yeah. I mean,
in
now
a
very
positive
quickly.
way. Yeah.
Yeah. No, like even watching like because they post like so much for just like one song. Like they'll have like the actual music video, then they'll have like a video of them just doing the choreography with like no cuts. That would
Right.
be a separate video, and it's just like the amount of effort that they're putting in just for one song to be put out is just
Yeah.
like I just don't
Crazy.
see that effort as
No,
much.
anywhere.
Yeah,
I don't feel like you don't see it anywhere. I think even with the boy bands that we grew up with,
yeah,
I don't think that effort was there, because I don't know. It just like it wasn't as passionate,
yeah,
or it didn't
yeah,
feel as passionate.
yeah,
I think they're allowed to take creative liberties, and they're really contributing creatively to the creation of their work.
yeah, yeah. I was a
I love
my favorite.
I love how this took a turn for K-pop. K-pop. This is now a K-pop
Yeah, we only talk
podcast.
about K-pop and K-pop news. That's it. But I was gonna say my favorite. Do you have like a favorite boy band member when you were growing up? Because mine was Joey Fatone for some reason, and NSYNC was my favorite.
I I don't think I had a favorite. I didn't have a favorite boy band. I like had favorite like heartthrob, like
Who's
actors
that?
like JTT, Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Oh, sure.
That was
Yeah.
my age. I'm a little bit older than you, so that was like,
Oh, I still watch Home Improvement all the time.
yeah, Home Improvement, and
What else was
that
he
was
in? He was like
yeah, I
he like
don't know. He was
retired
like
after
only in
that.
that. He was
Yeah.
like Simba and like the Lion.
Oh, yeah, yeah, he was. Yeah. Yeah.
He was in a few movies.
Because I remember, yeah, because I'm a big Home Improvement fan. I think that show is like so hilarious. But I remember watching or just looking them up afterwards, and yeah, he basically was like done after that. Like he was like,
Yeah,
I don't want to do this anymore,
I
and
don't.
was
Yeah,
like,
he was a child actor who made the right choice, I think, to leave that
yeah,
industry and just like live a relatively normal life,
yeah,
which I think would be really hard to do.
yeah. I don't know what he's doing these days. He's one of those interesting people because I feel like he's very short. So like
Yeah,
even though he grew up and he didn't grow that tall, he looks
right. He
very
looks exactly
similar.
the same.
Yeah,
Yeah, he looks exactly the same.
yeah, he still could like go back in time as he is now and play that character on Home
Yeah,
Improvement still.
100%.
Yeah. Oh man. But the unfortunate part about that show is like who's the oldest brother? I forget his name. Whatever. You know who I'm talking about, like, right? The
Yeah,
oldest
Brad. I don't
Brad.
remember Brad
Yeah.
something. That was his real name,
His name was Brad on the
right?
show.
Oh, was it?
Um
I
but
thought it was Brad in real life.
it might be. I don't know. But he got in trouble for like domestic abuse or something.
Oh no. Yeah, well I think that's like the tragedy of like being a teen or
Yeah.
a child actor.
Yeah.
It's either you're successful, or it can go very wrong, and if you don't have like the right support to
Yeah.
keep you on track.
Yeah. So I don't
It can be
know.
really hard.
I don't
Just
know what
having fame at that age seems like crazy.
I always talked about this with my friends in college, but I was like, if I was famous when I was younger, I like seriously might be dead because like
Yeah.
I don't know if I like having my own mental health issues as a kid. Like I don't know if I would have been able to reconcile that with like all the people like taking pictures of me all the time and like
Yeah.
following me around, and I don't know how like literally I don't know how Justin Bieber still
Yeah.
is existing. Like that would have just been insane to go from like like in his case singing on like a stoop in Canada to like selling out arenas at the age of 14 or something.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how any of them do it. It
Yeah.
changes your life and you can
Yeah.
never go back. Can never, you don't have a childhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
You lose that.
I would love to never be famous.
Yeah.
That would be ideal for me.
Yeah. I mean,
Personal.
okay. My art could be, I would be okay with my art being famous.
Yeah. Don't follow me though. Like, don't come
But
after
like,
me.
yeah, you don't have to know who I am.
Yeah, that's why Banksy got it so good, you know?
Right. That's right. Oh man.
Bring it back to him. But seriously, thank you so much for coming on and chatting. It's been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Do you have any, like, for real this time wrapping up? Do you have any like pieces that you're creating right now, like murals or anything like that people can look out for or that are coming out?
Yeah. Well, I just finished up a piece in Oshkosh. It was like a really big 2,000 square foot. It's like 128 feet long. They're
Wow.
downtown.
Cool.
That one's fun. But I was going to mention
Okay.
that we have an open studio in our buildings, which is kind of fun, but that's next weekend. So that's like,
Okay.
that'll be.
Is that ever going to reoccur? Like, are you going to do that in the future?
Yeah, that'll reoccur in the future. Those are kind of fun because it's like a rare opportunity to go and explore like all of these different artist studio spaces.
Cool. Where is that at?
So my studio is at Bar West, which is in Walker's Point. And it's part of the Bar Collective. So there's actually there's Bar and then there's Bar West. There's two separate buildings and they house about 70 artists total, I think, something like that. So a lot of,
Josh, who is the owner, went to my high school, actually. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on and thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it. And it was great chatting.
Thank you. It's been fun.